let's just call it for what it is. The world we live in today is negative. Well, today's video will not be about negativity. It will be about positivity and about the things I love the most about Omnipod. Now, for those who are new, hello, my name is Olivia and I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 20 years. And I recently got onto the Omnipod 5 insulin pump. I have the Dexcom G7 and I've had that for about a year now. And I have been running with this for about 4 months now. And I want to share with you guys my experiences, and I have been doing so here on YouTube. So if you are interested in learning more about my experience with Omnipod, check out my videos. But today I want to tell you guys what I love most about Omnipod. And if you are new to Omnipod, or maybe you're trying to get more information about Omnipod, this video is a great one to watch because I feel like I'll be answering a lot of questions that many would have who have not yet experienced what life is like with this. So welcome, and let's get right into it. So I don't have a short sleeve shirt on, but I can kind of show you through the shirt where my pump is. And it is right here. As you can see, it does not take up a big space on my arm. And then my Dexcom is right here, and that takes up even less space. So it's right in the back of my arm. You don't even know it's there for the most part. I will say, if you're a woman putting bras on or clothes on, and honestly, even if you're a man, if you're a person trying to put clothes on, the pump can get in the way. But besides the point, this is a positive video. I want to tell you guys what I love about the pump. So as you can see, it's in the back of my arm. So I used to be on the self-injection insulin pens, and I used to take shots whenever I would eat. So typically 4 to 6 times a day, I'd be taking shots, including short-acting and long-acting insulin. Whereas now, I put the Omnipod 5 insulin pump on, and I change it out every 3 days. So it only takes a few minutes of my time. I put the pump on, I calibrate it to my receiver, and I'm good to go for 3 days. So every 3 days I change it. Now I did film this morning me putting on a new pump. And I did that because, for those who don't know, I have 2 toddlers. My life is constantly crazy. So one of the reasons I was pushed to get the pump was because it was so much more convenient to wear a pump versus have to go into my bag, get my insulin out, and do an injection, especially when I had 2 toddlers who were constantly rooting through my bags. It caused such paranoia in my house that my kids were going to get one of my needle tips that this was a much safer route for me. So I popped in this morning, put a new pump on with my 2 toddlers in the background. You even get to see them. They actually were so well behaved for the video, and I promise you, they usually are not like that. But and it shows you from beginning to end me putting a new pump on and how quick of a process it is, especially for the fact that it's only done every 3 days. So I'll pop that in right now so you can see how you put on an Omnipod 5 and how quickly it can be done. So it is like 8 o'clock in the morning. I am putting my new Omnipod pod on. I just deactivated and took this one off. I have my 2 toddlers here watching Blippi, but if you have toddlers, you know that might not last for too long. So we're going to put to the test how long it takes me to put my new pod on, so that way I don't have to worry about it for 3 days until I have to do it again. So I deactivated the pod, and I'm going in there and hitting set up new pod, and now it is directing me to fill up my new pod with insulin. And I have found that my sweet spot is about 130 units for 3 days, and that usually leaves me about 20-30 units left over when I end up trashing it. And I will say I lead on the side of caution, and I do not save it, I just trash it. So I'm going to fill that up. Okay, I'm going to fill my pod up, and then once it beeps, you know that you have at least 85 units in the pod. There we go. But as I had already said, I like to put about 130 units in there to last me. I'm going to keep this pod far, far away from the new one, so that way my transmitter doesn't get confused. And I'm going to hit next. And you will start to hear the pod make some clicking noises and all of that. And it's called priming. So I have 2 toddlers, as I previously mentioned. That's why I look all disheveled. right now, and I'm kind of doing this to show you guys how quick it is to put a pod on, because as previously mentioned, once I put this on, I won't have to worry about it for 3 days unless I'm taking a bolus or something of that sort. And when you have 2 little kids that are constantly running around and rooting through your bags, it's super beneficial, because then I don't have to worry about needle tips and my kids getting into my medication, because it is literally on my arm. Now, I did clean and sanitize my arm right here, because that's where I plan on putting it, right next to my Dexcom. I will be replacing that Dexcom today as well later on. Probably won't film that, but this YouTube video I'm planning today is for Omnipod, so it makes sense that way. So it is priming and clicking. Let's see if you can hear it. It's priming and clicking. Usually does that for like a minute or so. And then once that's done, I will throw it on my arm, and I'll be able to, I can see I'm at 2.5 minutes now with filming. So far in time, you can anticipate it's going to last 3 days. It's pretty dang good. So first you're going to take this little plastic piece off. If you can't see it, you click that off, and you peel off the 2 stickers, and then you put it on your arm where you wanted to put it. And I sanitize right about here. That's typically where I put it. I found that I have the best luck putting it on the outside of my arms. For those who didn't know, for a while I was trying to put it on the inside of my arms. I felt like that made the most sense, but I was having so much bleeding. I was having a lot of issues. So I stuck it on. I'm going to hit start. Is the pod securely in place? Yes, it is. And since I had all those issues with bleeding, I like to pinch the spot that it's going, because it causes less pain and issues. It kind of just goes in easier. And there, that's it. So you hear it clicking, and once it beeps, you know that it's good to go. So is the cannula properly inserted? Yes, it is. Switch to automated mode. So basically the automated mode means it will give you insulin as sees fit. Yes. Communicating with pod. And we are good to go. Typically it would beep, but I have it on vibrate, so that's why it vibrated. It did not beep. So it's connecting sensor. It should take about 25 minutes to connect to my Dexcom. But other than that, that's all you have to do for the Omnipod setup. And I have it clocked in at about 4 minutes. So that's not bad when you think about that. This will last me 3 days. I don't have to worry about taking any more time from my toddlers. And honestly, you guys got so lucky. Typically my toddler's going crazy this early in the morning, but apparently today is the day they cooperated because they knew I was filming. So, you know, they probably want to make me look crazy and saying that they ever act bad, but believe me, they do. But I'll pop that into the rest of the video to talk about what other things I just love about Omnipod. So as you saw in the video, super easy to put on a pump. It took me about 4 minutes to get a new pump from start to finish. And that was with 2 toddlers in the same house as me. And when you have kids or you have a busy life, putting this on every 3 days is a huge, huge convenience. So this right here is the Omnipod. When you take it out, you see what it comes with. I love the fact that it already comes with the needles. So if you are new to Omnipod, every pod comes with a needle that you just have to use the needle to take the insulin out of a syringe or the insulin pen. However, it comes with both things. And I love that, because if you're a diabetic, you know that diabetes is not cheap. You're paying for the medication, you're paying for the pump, you're paying for the Dexcom, but the fact that you don't also have to then pay for needles, I feel like is huge. It just helps you save a little bit of money. So I really appreciate that Omnipod sets you up that way. So it's one less charge being charged to you as a diabetic. Now, another thing I really love about Omnipod is obviously the convenience. I've mentioned that. But so let's just say going out to eat with my family. And this kind of rolls into the main reason I loved it in the beginning, with how simple it is. Every 3 days you change it out. But when I go out to eat, or when I'm in public and I eat something, or my sugar's getting high, I just pull out my receiver, which looks like a phone, and I give myself boluses through that. I no longer have to worry about rooting through my purse, finding my needle, lifting my shirt up, or going to the bathroom, giving myself a shot, and then going back out. No part of my experience is ever inconvenience, because all it takes is a 5-second quick pull out your phone, and it's great. You put in how many carbs you're eating, what your sugar is, and then it calculates the perfect dosage for you. And that goes along with my next big perk of Omnipod, is that Omnipod is so easy with correction formulas. So my old way of correcting was doing the math all in my head. Well, although it's easy math, it can be a lot to think about. And I love that Omnipod does the thinking for me. So if you're looking at getting Omnipod and your sugar's a little bit higher, it calculates you to get back to that perfect number that you're looking for. My perfect number is 110. It calculates how you get back there based on where your sugars are now. So let's say my sugar is 190 and I want to get back down to my 110. I go back to give myself a bolus. I click use my Dexcom blood sugar, and it calculates, okay, Olivia, you need 2.5 units of insulin, and it will then give it to me and bring my sugar back down to level. And needless to say, with that, if my sugar is starting to drop too low, Dexcom notifies the pump, and the pump stops giving me insulin to keep my sugar from dropping further. So it's literally like an artificial pancreas on my arm. Now, are there errors? Of course. Are there issues? Of course. But for the most part, my sugars do a great job at staying in range between 80 and 200. Because if it goes above 200, the pump automatically starts giving me my insulin so long as it's an automated mode. But even if it's not an automated mode and it's in a manual mode, it still gives me 0.7 units of insulin every hour, keeping me from getting my sugar too high. Now, as a side note, from where I used to be with diabetes, is I used to struggle a lot in the middle of the night, because think about it. You're sleeping, you're not moving, you're no longer burning calories, you're just laying there sleeping, and my sugar would always get high. So sometimes I'd wake up in the morning to my sugar being 300, 400, or I would have Dexcom throughout the night, waking me up all night, beeping at me. And I used to hate that, especially when I had babies in the same room as me and my Dexcom was beeping at me every 5 seconds. It was awful. So now my sugars very rarely go above 200 because my Omnipod does the job for me. And before Dexcom even has to beep off, my pump's already giving me insulin to bring my sugar back down. So now every morning my sugar is typically between 100 and 140, which is so much better, needless to say, than the 300 I used to wake up at. So that itself is huge. Like I said, it is literally an artificial pancreas. And mind you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. I am not paid by Omnipod. I'm not paid by anybody. I'm just on here to share with you guys my experiences with Omnipod. So this is wholeheartedly my opinion and my truth. I'm not telling you guys this, that it's like an artificial pancreas because I'm getting paid for every view. I'm just on here to share my experiences with you and to help other diabetics out there, because when I was looking at getting this insulin pump, I could not find much information about it. I could go on Omnipod's website and get information that way, but I don't want to hear what they have to say about it. I want to hear people like me out there. I want to hear other moms. I want to hear other working professionals living their life with the Omnipod, not a doctor, not someone who works for Omnipod. I want to hear someone who's honest and they're just trying to live their life wearing this pump. So that's me helping you guys out. That's kind of a disclaimer in the middle of it. Also, as part of the disclaimer, I'm obviously not a doctor, as previously stated. So what worked for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But as far as Omnipod goes, I would say it has overall been a much better life change than I had originally anticipated. Even right now, I heard it clicking at me. And for those who do not know, when your Omnipod is giving you insulin, you can hear it click, which is a cool experience. I noticed sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I hear it clicking, and I just roll over and go back to bed, because before I'd have to wake up and give myself a shot and go back to sleep, and then maybe I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. It would be a whole hour-long process, whereas now I hear the clicking, I know it's doing its job for me, I to roll over, go back to bed. So I would say that is the biggest benefit of Omnipod for me, is it really takes a chunk of stress off my shoulders when it comes to managing my blood sugar, because not getting too high, it automatically detects that and takes care of that. But also the even bigger part for me as a mom who constantly is running, sometimes I forget to eat, sometimes my lunch is chicken tenders because I just eat off my kid's plate, and my sugars do not drop the way they used to. where sometimes, with Omnipod, yeah, my sugars do drop, but the fact that the Omnipod will take the insulin off the table for me and help my sugar kind of naturally come back up is huge. Because before starting Omnipod, I was on Levemir, which is a long-acting insulin, and Novolog, which is short-acting. And as you know, once you inject that insulin into your body, you can't take it back. So if I wasn't feeling well or I didn't get a chance to eat, that long-acting insulin was still in my system, causing my sugar to drop. But with Omnipod, it will notify, oh wow, her sugar is dropping, let's stop giving it to her to help her come up. So it gives you so much more control of what your sugars are doing day to day. Because as a mom, but just any person in general, no 2 days are the same. So the Omnipod makes that so much easier, I will say. Another big perk, because this is one of the biggest questions I had about this, was it does not hurt when you put it on. It does not hurt. As you saw in that video, all I do when I'm putting it on is I pinch the area, and I feel like it hurts less than a shot. It's just a quick little prick, and that's it for 3 days. So if you are worried about getting the pod, because it's scary, thinking about the fact that it's on you for 3 days, if you're nervous about that, it does not hurt, and also it does not fall off. I have not yet experienced my Omnipod falling off, and I've been wearing it for almost 4 months now. Mind you, I have a 2-year-old girl that demands that I hold her all the time, and she uses it as a handlebar, so that way she can't let go of me. She holds onto the pump, and even doing that, this thing does not fall off. So I know that I was nervous going into Omnipod because of that. I had Dexcom, and I felt like they always fell off. And I was nervous because I didn't want to have to worry about my pump falling off constantly. Well, I'm telling you, if that's one of your concerns, don't let it be a concern, because my 2-year-old manhandles this thing all the time, and this thing does not move, does not budge, and I have yet to have an issue with it. So those are my favorite things about Omnipod. Doesn't hurt, it's quick and easy, super convenient, and it doesn't fall off. That's huge. But I hope that you guys got some clarity about the Omnipod 5. And if you're looking to get it, I hope this answered some of your questions. If you have more questions about my experience with this product, leave it in the comments below, and I would be more than happy to write you back about my experience, because I know how scary it is to go on a new product like this, and I want to help you guys out. So if you haven't already, please help me out and give me a big thumbs up. That just helps push my video out to more viewers, and I really appreciate you guys if you do so. So I will see you guys in the next video. And like I said, leave some comments leave some comments below, show me some love, ask some questions about the pump, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'll see you later, guys.